There is something inside you that is not human, not a metaphor, not a philosophical idea. A literal biological fragment of a species that vanished from this earth thousands of years ago, still embedded in your genome, still switching genes on and off, still shaping the body you live in right now. We didn't find this species from a skeleton. We didn't find it from cave paintings or burial sites or ancient weapons. We found it from a finger bone, a single fragment, smaller than a grape, pulled from the frozen sediment of a cave in Siberia. And that one tiny piece of calcium and ancient protein detonated everything we thought we knew about what it means to be human. Their name is Denisovan, and they were never supposed to exist. Scientists had built a clean, comfortable story about human evolution. Homo sapiens emerged from Africa. Neanderthals ruled Europe. Two branches, two stories, a tidy family tree. Then, in 2010, a research team extracted DNA from that Siberian finger bone, and the genome they sequenced matched neither. It was something else entirely, a third human. A ghost species that had been living alongside us, competing with us, surviving the same brutal ice-locked world for hundreds of thousands of years, and we had no idea. The world the Denisovans inhabited was not kind. Picture Eurasia roughly 400,000 years ago. Glaciers grinding southward, temperatures dropping 30, 40 degrees below what you would call survivable. Woolly mammoths, cave bears, and saber-toothed predators competing for the same frozen terrain. This was not a landscape that tolerated weakness. It crushed weakness. It erased entire bloodlines without ceremony. The Denisovans did not just survive this world. They mastered it. Modern archaeology tells us they were not primitive grunters scratching at dirt. They drilled stone beads for jewelry. They shaped bone into precise tools. They ranged from the frozen steppes of Siberia all the way to the dense jungles of Southeast Asia, an environmental range wider than any other human species has ever successfully occupied, wider than Neanderthals. In some ways, wider than us. They were intelligent, adaptable, and dangerous. And then, without warning, they were gone. Here is where the story gets uncomfortable. When Homo sapiens finally pushed out of Africa, hungry, desperate, and multiplying, they didn't march into empty territory. The land was already occupied. Denisovans had been there for hundreds of thousands of years before the first sapiens boot ever touched Asian soil. Two species, same territory, same prey, same waterholes, same caves. What happened next was not a war. It was something far stranger. They bred together. Not once. Not by accident. Repeatedly, deliberately, across tens of thousands of years and multiple continents. Modern Papuans carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA in their genome. Aboriginal Australians carry it too. Populations across Southeast Asia, the Philippines, Indonesia, Melanesia carry distinct Denisovan signatures that differ from each other, suggesting it didn't happen in one place. It happened everywhere sapiens and Denisovans met, somewhere in the darkness, at the edge of a fire, on the border of two worlds that evolution had kept separate for 400,000 years. Two species looked at each other and chose not to fight. Scientists recently discovered something that made this even stranger. The Denisovans were not one unified population. They were at least two genetically distinct groups, separated by vast geography, by mountain ranges and ice sheets who had diverged from each other almost as much as they had diverged from Neanderthals. Two ghost species hiding inside one name. And both of them interbred with us. Now consider this. One of those Denisovan populations climbed to the Tibetan plateau, 16,000 feet above sea level. Air so thin it contains 30% less oxygen than what you are breathing right now. At that altitude, the human body begins to fail within days. Blood thickens. The heart strains. Fluid floods the lungs in a condition called high-altitude pulmonary edema. It is not painful at first. It feels like fatigue, then confusion. Then you do not wake up. The Denisovans lived there, not visited, lived for generations. At 160,000 years ago, long before Homo sapiens had even considered climbing that high, they had already solved the problem of the sky. They carried a gene called EPAS1, a single genetic switch that tells the body to produce fewer red blood cells at altitude, preventing the deadly thickening that kills lowland humans. It is elegant. It is precise. It is the difference between life and suffocation. And when Homo sapiens finally climbed those mountains cold, gasping, dying, they survived only because some of their ancestors had once loved a Denisovan. The ghost species had paved the road, in the dark, thousands of years before anyone knew the road would be needed. In 2022, a Swedish geneticist named Svante Pääbo won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. Not for curing a disease, not for developing a vaccine, for reading the dead. Pääbo spent decades perfecting the extraction of ancient DNA from bone fragments so degraded that conventional science had declared them unreadable. Cave sediment, teeth, a finger bone the size of a grape. His laboratory pulled intact genetic sequences from material that had been frozen in Siberian rock for 50,000 years, and what those sequences revealed rewrote the human story from the first page. The interbreeding was not a footnote. It was not a rare border crossing between isolated groups. Many researchers now believe it was a sustained, recurring pattern of contact across an enormous geographic range and an enormous span of time. The Denisovan DNA found in Tibetans is not the same Denisovan DNA found in Papuans. The signatures are different meanings, separate populations, separate encounters, separate moments in deep history when two species met and merged. They gave us more than altitude survival. Modern archaeology and genomics tell us that Denisovan immune system variants are now carried by populations across East and Southeast Asia, genes that may have strengthened resistance to local pathogens that sapiens had never encountered before pushing into new territory. The ghost species didn't just survive the landscape, they understood it. And when they fused with us, they handed us the keys. We think of human history as a single, unbroken thread. One species, one story. A lone protagonist walking out of Africa and inheriting the earth. That story is wrong. We are not pure. We were never pure. We are a collaboration, a biological negotiation between species that competed, feared, and desired each other across hundreds of thousands of years. Neanderthal, Denisovan, sapiens. All of it folded together into the genome running inside you right now. Think about that the next time your body does something inexplicable. The way you tolerate cold better than your friends. The way your immune system fights off an infection that floors everyone around you. The anxiety that wakes you at 3 in the morning, scanning for threats that aren't there. An ancient alarm system tuned to a world of predators and rival species and fires burning in the dark. Some of that is not yours. Some of that was borrowed from a people with no name, no face, no grave marker, a species we know only from a finger bone and a ghost signal buried in your DNA. They are gone, every last one of them, but they never fully left.